everything underway here in Jersey. It's semi-final A and the top 5 go through, and I think we've got a clean start. 300 metres in the water and 120 metres out to the first buoy. Alongside me in commentary right now, Jodie Stimpson and Chris McCormack. Good to see a clean start, Macca.
A magnificent start, and I think all of us were looking at the far left and far right of the screen. It looks like Katie Severi's got the better start from all views of it.
Katie Severi's is closest to us here,
too.
And at the other end, on the far end, that's Cassandra Beau.
Cassandra Beau. They're the two we're looking for in the water. I'm looking also for Emily Murray at the under-23 world champion. She's going to be there. And Mazzetti, the Italian, who I think will be very, very close to the front. She's had a magnificent season. If she's got a weakness, it tends to be slightly in the water, but on bike and run, she's magnificent. Now,
Georgia Taylor-Brown just before said she expected everyone to come out of the water together, but already, Jodie, they seem to be breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think they're all going to come out of the water together. I'm going to go against Georgia here. Just you have got some fast swimmers here. And you've also got Kate, who's actually, I think, the only athlete that's actually vouched for a leg suit, which is quite interesting because the water is very cold. So I think that's a really smart decision.
And is that Beau Grant off the front?
It is, I think, yeah. Is it?
It doesn't look like the French flag.
No, it doesn't look like the
arm,
French flag.
It's because it's the furthest back I've seen Katie Zaferis in any of the swims. She can make up for it a lot, and she's got the wider run around this swim buoy. So the option to go wide was an interesting one. As we know that the winner of this semi-final gets the short shoot, so I'm looking at to see between these two who are favourites to win the round.
Also, 5 points on offer for the fastest swim split, and that goes straight into the jerseys and the jersey competition we just mentioned. So the top 5 out of the water will pick up points that go to that blue jersey, and we've got someone straight off the front. A little bit of a battle as they turn the first buoy at 120 metres, and already they're turning for home. Super League Triathlon, Jodie, it just happens so quickly, doesn't it? There's no chance if you don't get a great start, as you can see there. There's not much chance to make up for it.
No, definitely. You have to be in that hustle and bustle around that first buoy. No matter if you're the first person around it, it is so much easier. But anything apart from that, then you just have to get amongst it, and you have to get in that washing machine and get yourself around that first buoy. And it's really short, so you need to get up there quickly.
And there's less athletes than last year, with only 14 in the semi-finals. It makes for a little bit more room. I know we used to have Alistair saying with less athletes it makes it a lot more difficult for the weaker swimmers to stay closer to the front because more gaps are opening up. So that could play havoc as they get out of the water in these fast transitions.
But when you say the weaker swimmers are usually the ones that are used to this fight scenario and used to kind of getting around. So I mean, that's kind of how I kind of got around in this swim, is that I'm used to that scrap around the first buoy and get amongst it, where Kate is not necessarily used to that, which is why I think she usually does suffer in the first swim, and she won't like the position that she's in at the minute.
Without question at all. Who is that on the front?
Is it the Hungarian?
Yeah.
I think it'd be Jeanette Brugmeier, the Hungarian.
Yeah,
I think you're correct, actually. Yes. Jeanette Brugmeier came in to the series for the first time in 2019. This is her first.
It's Beau Grant,
yeah,
it is. It's definitely Beau Grant.
Yeah,
she had a much better start, right. And that'll be interesting because that side last year and the year before was always the quicker side to start on. I was surprised when Katie Zaferis, who had the right to pick first on the pontoon, chose that further side.
Yeah, last year I kind of went straight next to Sophie and I was number 2.
All right, we're going to head down onto the pontoon. Joe has got Henry Schoeman, who unfortunately is injured. Joe, how are you seeing them coming in?
We've got the excellent swimmer Henry Schoeman with us. Well, Henry, it looks like Cassandra's out in front. What do you make of this rivalry so far?
Yeah, Cassandra had a very nice start in the beginning. Closely behind is Takahashi. Zavaris is in the mix, and Spivey and Holland had a very good swim as well. It will be interesting to see if they go aggressive now and really push on that bike.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks, Joe. There you go. Up the top is both Zaferis and Beau Grant, who's leading them, and Kerry Morris there at the back is already in danger. Giko Takahashi, ever the consistent one, and Vicky Holland, who raced here last year and came in as world champion and didn't do what she'd hoped that she could do. I think the pace of it all came onto her pretty quickly, came 11th.
It's funny that we're talking about semi-final number 1, and Vicky Holland, a world champion, Olympic bronze medalist, has not been on everyone's lips coming in. It's been Beau Grant and Zaferis that people we're talking about, but Vicky's right there with a magnificent swim.
Okay, 300 metres of the swim done, and just a reminder, in this semi-final it is swim, bike, run, making it a sprint enduro, so they'll head through distances twice through, and from there we'll take our top 5, we'll go through to the final, and they'll have to wait the rest of them from 6th through 10th or so and sweat it out to see how fast the second semi-final is as they head onto the bikes for the first time. And it's funny how people are doing things a little bit differently. Some people mounting their bikes before the line, trying to negotiate, but most people doing the smart thing and getting around the bottom end of the course before they mount.
Yeah, I'd definitely go around. It's quicker. You've then got the straight line to get over your momentum, jump on and put the power down. I would definitely not be mounting. Then you have to take that dead turn and you're already going pretty slow.
We saw that in the junior race this morning. I think in the first race in the youth event, there was a lot of crashes, a lot of congestion around that. And as it progressed during the day, a lot of them opted to take that longer run, get on their bike on the straight. And this is where there was a lot of problems on that roundabout in the youth race. We had 5 or 6 crashes, especially on the entry into that roundabout when it was wet.
Yeah, it's dry now though, and Cassandra Beau, who won the triple mix here last year, is out in front with Giko Takahashi behind, and they've gapped everyone by 4 seconds from Katie Zafiris. Sandra Dode, one of our qualifiers from Bali, is just behind Zafiris. From Victoria Lopez, the Brazilian. Taylor Spivey, Vicky Holland now back into 7th. She came out of the water in 3rd, so she's dropped a couple of places from Ilaria Zane, Anna Maria Mazzetti, the 2 Italians together. And we head down to Kerry Morris at 26 seconds back. But a cracking pace on the first of 3 laps on the bike. It's a little bit shorter than it was last year, 3.9 kilometres overall for the bike, 500 metres shorter. And the run, 1.6 kilometres.
Oh, without question. And that little dogleg we saw there through the fan zone was not there last year. We brought that in this year, and I think it's really going to favour the stronger swimmers. You've got a much more technical section that's bringing in the fans for the course. It was a request of a lot of the people here last year that thought that the event was too quick and too fast. And that dogleg, I know a lot of the athletes, Jody, were looking at that all week, especially when it was wet. It's very, very technical off that fast acceleration out of the roundabout.
Yeah, it's crazy how you think of like a dead turn, and some of the guys were panicking about it. I mean, they shouldn't be, to be honest. They're professionals. You need to go out and practice it. It's a dead turn at the end of the day. They need to be good at these things. But this is, I mean, this one's a bit difficult because you are doing a U-turn on not a concrete surface, so you do have to be careful on this one. But on the other one, it's concrete. You know, you should be able to do a dead turn.
And it's Katie versus Cassandra. Katie bringing up that second group, Cassandra and Giko Takahashi off the front. And we saw this. I think if these changes to the bike course and to the run course, that technicality doesn't allow Katie to use her power as much as we saw last year. When she comes off that roundabout, she really applied that pressure on the fastest part of the course. Now we've taken that off and added a bit of technicality to it.
Absolutely correct. Look at that. Takahashi has taken over from Beau at the front, but the 2 of them have gapped the rest of the field. 10 seconds it is now through the last timing, Matt. So they're really putting the hammer down, Beau and Takahashi, on the first of, 4 laps. And Beau at a 6:37 at the moment. And you can see there, 10 seconds back to Zafiris, who leads a train of about 8 athletes, and just hanging on the back of that is Ilaria Zane and Anna Maria Mazzetti. But these 2 look like they're doing it comfortably.
Yeah, Giko Takahashi is actually really good at this format. She's raced here and she raced all the Super Leagues last year, and she showed how good she was last year. And I think she ended up in the transition jersey last year, and you know, these skills are fundamental in Super League. And you know, she showed that she was quick out of the water, and now now Cassandra is using her to get around this bike course.
They've extended that grab. We saw last time that there was only a difference. They were both on that little dogleg section, and they've extended that. And I think this will be interesting because they can enable them to cruise this next.
Oh, that's Taylor Spivey, who I think she almost got cut off there and is forced to be off the back of that. So she'll have to work hard to get onto the back of that train once again. And that just shows you, we talked about the dead turns. They don't like it, and that's exactly what happened.
And there's a block headwind right there. That's the open section of the course. It's wide open up in the fan zone. The air rushes straight up. We call it Thunder Alley, and it's like hitting a block headwind. And maybe
you call it Thunder Alley.
It sounds cool, Thunder Alley. I think it sounds cool. But I think it's going to be very, very difficult. It's interesting to see our first race through this. I ripped around that bike course when we first planned it. I spoke to Vincent Lewis yesterday, who went over it. I spoke to Ben Canute, who also went over it. And they were excited about that little dog leg and said it would be very, very difficult for people to reel people in. The escaped bike groups like this, especially small ones, will be hard to reel in.
Yeah, definitely. When you go into that dead turn, you're at such an advantage. You can take your own lines, you can power out. And the people that are like 3 or 4 bike lengths back, they've got to produce so much more power than the first person going around.
At which point in this race do you think, Jody, if Katie Zafiris looks at Cassandra, and obviously it's only early doors here, but if it remained at 10 seconds or 15 seconds, at what point does Katie Zafiris know that she's going to qualify anyway for tomorrow's? If she finishes 3rd, she's going to qualify, but she's not going to get the short shoot. And to give a runner like Beau a 3-second advantage on a run is a big shadow hanging over your head going into tomorrow's final.
Yeah, definitely. If you were just literally talking about the pacing of events, then Katie's one of the best out there. She showed it last year that she knows how to, you know, save, conserve energy, and then use it when it actually matters. she won't like the fact if Cassandra gets this, you know, short shoot, she won't like that at all, because Cassandra, you know, you'd see that her and Katie are the two that are going to be fighting out for the title this weekend.
And Cassandra is the best runner we've ever had on this course. She posted the fastest, what do we call it, the fastest actual run speed of any Super League race was done here by Cassandra Beau last year. So she is our fastest runner through data we've looked at. So it is very, very difficult to give an athlete of this caliber any short shoot advantage. And I think Katie's going to move up on this next run or force the pace on this next run to close that gap.
Yeah, and I think that she'll also, you know, Cassandra is an absolutely fantastic swimmer, but Katie is good when she is swimming off the run as well. So I think that's another element to Super League, is that it's not just a straight swim. You have to be able to swim when you're extremely fatigued after doing a swim bike run as well, and Katie's very good at that.
And when you look at the data from last year, especially the pacing data, it's the second swim that's the biggest drop-off in these sprint enduros, the enduro format. So the bikes tend to stay, bikes and runs stayed relatively similar throughout the entire event. And Vincent Lewis and Cassandra and Katie Zaferis are by far the strongest at the back end. But it's this second swim that's very, very difficult, and they lose most of their time.
Yeah, that's usually where we see these races that have run at such high heart rates blow apart a little bit when they have to finish one triathlon and head straight into another one. And the best athletes, like Zafiris, and someone's down. We can hear it on the PA system. I think we've had an accident at the bottom end of the course, and it is Takahashi,
wow,
who has come a cropper, well, that's an Australian term, who has fallen over on the black carpet, and that leaves Cassandra Beau out in front by herself, and the rest of the field will have seen that.
She has that margin of error being off the front with Cassandra. She'll get gobbled up. She'll be able to contain herself, get herself back together. She's a great runner. Got a big second swim. I think there's nothing to panic about for Yuko.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Cassandra, because I think she was actually using Giko Takahashi very well. Now she's out there solo. She may like it because then she can take her own lines.
It's last lap now. She can just sort of cruise in, get her breathing under control, get her mind under control, and set up for this run where she's most comfortable.
Yeah, she certainly is an incredible runner, Cassandra Beau. She showed that. She's in our forecast consultancy number crunching, the #1 runner and the absolute standout in terms of running. She's only 21 years old. She's so good at mixed team relay. Another product of that French Grand Prix racing where they're just doing it short and sharp at the moment. In 2019, she's had some pretty good results, actually. Her World Triathlon Series ranking in the end was 8th. She finished 17th in the Lausanne Grand Final a few weeks ago, and 3rd overall last year, and that's missing 2 rounds, Macca. She won in Singapore. She came 2nd in Jersey last year. She didn't do the other 2 rounds, but because she was so strong in those, she still finished on the podium.
When she's racing, she's never fallen out of the podium or just off. She's always in the action. She did 2 races, and that's the consistency that got her right there. And her performance in Singapore against Katie in this enduro format was first class.
And here she is, currently 11 seconds clear. Takahashi has managed to stay a little bit clear of the chasing pack, but they are tracking her down as quickly as possible. And that's headed by Zafiris, who's done all the work out in front. Sandra Daudet has been smart and stayed right behind Zafiris. We're going to head down now to Joe as they come into transition. Take us through it, Joe.
Cassandra is just making her way through here. She's got an 11-second lead. Cassandra, can you hold Katie up? Okay, we'll let her get on. Henry, it's been a bit of a big gap for Katie Zafiris. Are you surprised how much of a gap so far?
Yeah, we've already had so much happening in this race. Takahashi came down. Zafiris is about 15 seconds back, and Beau can now run nice and relaxed. And
Taylor Spivey here, doing well. Looks like she's on the back of that group again, Taylor Spivey. Do you think she has a chance of making the top 5?
Yeah, definitely. It's still a long race ahead. She's back in the main group, and she just needs to stay calm and relaxed.
Excellent. Back to you.
Takahashi through in 2nd, Vicky Holland through in 3rd, and she had a graze at the top of her thigh. I'm not sure where that happened. It must have happened, off camera, obviously, but she's managed to get back up if she's had an accident.
Maybe coming out of the water. Yeah, maybe coming out of the water. It's hard to get out, especially when it's slippy. I wouldn't have thought it had happened on the bike. She'd have dropped back out of the pack, so I'm presuming it was...
Are you questioning her pace if she's on her own? Is that what you're saying? She wouldn't be able to get back to the pack if she'd come off on the bike?
She's not cycled that well this year. She's not cycled that well this year, so... Yeah, I'm going to go with that.
There we go out the front.
She seems a lot more committed, though, in that transition. I recall coming in last year as the world champion, we expected a lot from Vicky Holland, and she really struggled with the pace. But right now, looking at her at the split, she's right there with Katie Zafiris. She just looked committed, moved up to make sure she was right off the front, off the bike, came through very slick and looked controlled. Had a little glance over the shoulders to see where Katie was, and we'll I think is in a fantastic position to
Oh,
qualify.
definitely. I think Vicky's very good tactically, and if she has a weakness, then she is really good at racing it and kind of hiding her weakness and making the most out of it. And she's in the perfect position. Like, yeah, her cycling's not been great this year, but her running has been phenomenal. In some races, I know she's been extremely frustrated that she hasn't been able to show it.
Cassandra Beaugrand looking there like she's running in slow motion, but to give you an idea of how quick she is actually going or is capable of going, Summer Rappaport is in terms of getting around the Jersey course, around a 3:18 pace, and that was the top in the Enduro last year. But right behind her, Beaugrand at a 3:20 pace, and she just looks so comfortable as a runner, and it looks effortless in a way that the other athletes out there never look.
Well, she has to control herself. This is the semi-final. The round is won tomorrow in the finals in the Enduro format, which is the toughest format. You can see the desperation now in Katie to close that gap. This is all about a short shoot. You're going to give Cassandra Beaugrand, if she stays off the front, a short shoot advantage in the final, and Katie, as a competitor she is, does not want to give anyone an advantage.
90-second rule is in effect, as we should have mentioned earlier on in the telecast. Any athlete that falls 90 seconds or further behind any time through transition will be eliminated, and Felicity Sheedy Ryan is at 1:28 at the moment in Aspen. So she's in danger of being run out of it by Cassandra Beaugrand by the time she gets through transition, and we'll see the yellow flag come out. But right now, controlling this race is the Frenchwoman Cassandra Beaugrand. She won on Saturday last year in Jersey. She's looking like she could do the same, and it is very good to see the 2018 world champion right behind the 2019 world champion in second and third position. Holland with the hopes of the Brits resting on her shoulders, and Sandra Daudet, another French woman, our first qualifier, if you like, in terms of outside of the top-ranked athletes, is at the head of that second pack, with Spivey moving back into position ahead of Emily Morier and now Takahashi, who's finding this run a little more difficult after having that small accident on the bike. There is Anna Maria Mazzetti from Italy. Behind her, Ilaria Zane, two back, and in between them is Victoria Lopez of Brazil.
These girls are working really hard. They're gonna suffer in this second swim. If you've got to, go and dig deep into the red zone even before you get into that second swim, you're in trouble. And especially if you're digging into the red zone and you're not holding on to the likes of Katie or Vicky, it's worth it if you're up there, because then you've got feet in the swim. But then if you're so far back and you're diving in and you're already being gapped, you're going to struggle.
Well, you can contrast the face. Look at that, the relaxation of Cassandra. She's in complete control. She knows she's got a little bit of a margin of error on both on Katie and Vicky. She can control this. She's a magnificent swimmer. Set it up for an easier bike. Take that short shoot if she's to win it. I'm looking ahead, but she just looks very, very controlled, and that was all set up in that first swim.
Yeah,
everything.
She did. She's done her tactics perfectly. I mean, she was out there. She got to control the bike, and now she's just controlling the run. Katie and Vicky are both having to work hard, but I still think Katie's, controlling her efforts.
Elimination clock.
That elimination clock could not have been closer, as Claudie Simard, I think it is there, and Felicity Sheedy Ryan crossed the line, and it was 1 second for Sheedy Ryan that she was ousted by. You saw it tick at 1:31 as she came across. She was sprinting for the line. But the day is over for Canada's Claudie Simard. You can see the look on the faces. They found the going tough out there. Everybody who comes into Super League Triathlon for the first time is shocked by the pace of it.
Yeah, of course, it's super hard. I mean, you go into there, and every interview you have with athletes, it's how brutal Super League is, and they've just found out how brutal.
Well, this is interesting because you've got to count. Remember, to go through to tomorrow's final, it's the top 5 guaranteed qualify and then the top 5 fastest times. So you're leaving yourself with a little bit of a gambling going on, I guess. If you dropped out of that top 5, you got to wait for those times from the second semi-final and hope you're through. So the aim of the game, I guess, is to make sure you finish in that top 5 to secure that slot in the final.
Let's head down again to Joe, who is in transition, and in is coming Cassandra Beaugrand, who's been in charge of this race. Joe.
Well, yes, Cassandra Beaugrand is in charge of this race. I have Claudie and Felicity with me, who unfortunately have been the first victims of elimination. Felicity, you were 1 second out. What happened?
I know, I could see it. I only saw the clock just as I was running in, and I was like, oh no, it's going to be touch and go. No, I had an okay swim for me, like I was just in, but I just mucked up a few of those bike corners, and I sort of slipped out on my wheel a little bit, and yeah, it really cost me. Wasn't smooth enough through. It was just the technical side that got me today.
Commiserations, Claudine. Will we see you girls tomorrow?
Oh yeah, sure.
Excellent. We'll see you girls tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. As we head back to the action, Cassandra Beaugrand 12 seconds ahead as she heads back into the water. You can see some of the athletes getting ready there and getting their goggles and swim cap on whilst they're running at like a 3:30 pace. So how hard is that?
That's pretty hard. That's pretty hard. I mean, the hardest bit now is obviously they've just run and they've now got to run down this quite steep ramp and dive back in. And your legs are all ready to jelly, and then you've got to, handle running downhill before you even think about getting in the water. So it's not easy on the quads.
And as that tide drops, that ramp gets steeper and steeper.
That's right. It's something we don't really speak about that much, but you can see them coming down. It looks steep there, but it is. And someone's overtaking there too. There's a chance to pick up, if you're brave, a couple of extra seconds. And
well, I think Katie closed down I think she closed more in that transition on Cassandra Beaugrand than she did in the entire run. And she was able to gap Vicky Holland there all through transition.
I think you're right. She certainly pushed up on it. It was 12 seconds through our last timing, Matt. It'll be interesting to see there. Spivey, Takahashi, Anna Maria Mazzetti, Lopez and Ilaria Zane make up your top 9.
Is that Emily Moreira on the back, the young under-23 World Championship champion?
She's not in our timing. Kerry Morris has come through 10th, and I can't see Emily Moreira, but she did have her swim goggles on a second ago, so...
I think that's a drop-off. I definitely saw a French flag at the back. It could have been Dode.
Dode came into the water 4th.
Yep.
There are the 2 Italians who've come through the timing map, but we'll keep you updated on that. At the front, though, for the French fans, Cassandra Beaugrand continues, and she's got such a fluid stroke. She's just a very controlled athlete, certainly working within herself now. I can update you, though, that Kerry Morris, another of our Australian qualifiers, is the next to have been eliminated. So this is a 10-strong race as I make it at the moment.
I think Katie's going to be near enough on her feet by the time that they get out here.
This is where Katie is strong, right? As you said earlier, her second swim's remarkable. She's like a diesel engine. She gets stronger and stronger as the race goes, and we've seen that round over round. Especially last year when we had those dual races over a weekend, she was much stronger in the second day than she was in the first. Yeah,
and I mean, you're totally right. I mean, look at these gaps that are appearing in the second swim. And you said it earlier that this is where the damage is done. Katie's already bridged across to Cassandra now, and, there's their 2 up. And unfortunately, Vicky's missed Katie's feet, which is, I mean, that's a tactical error. I'm sure she couldn't do much about it, to be honest. But if she could have held her feet, there's 3 away, and you're in the final for tomorrow.
Well, there was a committed transition from Katie. I saw her rush in. You saw she went straight through it. She seemed to be. It was night and day between Vicky's transition and Katie. She knew that desperation to get across on that descent down into the swim start to dive in for that second swim. She could close a bit of a gap, and she's closed it. And they're the 2 favourites for the event.
Well, there you look at those timings, and they are before they headed into the swim. It was 10 seconds between Beaugrand and Zafiris, and that has evaporated as they went down that steep ramp. So it just shows you Zafiris threw caution to the wind as she headed down. She knew that was her chance, and she's caught up. And our 2 who battled it out here in Jersey, and indeed across the course of the series, are neck and neck and also head and shoulders above the rest, with Vicky Holland still holding down 3rd from Sandra Dode. Taylor Spivey, who was the one who overtook Takahashi heading down the ramp. But this is exciting, the way this is set up with these 2 who we know are such quality athletes.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming in, they're just setting themselves up for tomorrow, to be honest. I mean, you wouldn't bet against these 2 making through tomorrow, but they've just made it so much easier and making in that they're going to be so much pressure going into tomorrow. If these 2 can just sustain, a bit of a gap, they can control it, they can control their effort, they don't have to dig too deep, and by the time they get onto the run, it's more controlled. The damage is really done on the run, I'd say. So if these 2 can just stay away at control until they get there, they can finish 1 and 2.
What are you saying, a gentleman's agreement or gentlewomen's agreement that we're only going to sprint for the short shoot in the last 200 metres? Let's save ourselves until then? I don't think it works like that.
Happens.
I don't think there's going to be any holding hands on this.
No, we've been down that road before and it didn't end well. Although if you're in Super League, you can hold hands. We're not going to disqualify for that. No. Out of the water comes Beaugrand and Zafiris, and you can see behind there quite a long way back to Holland, who's taking a little bit of an interesting wider line. She needs to come back around if she's going to get out that ramp. If that is indeed Holland, you can see her there on the right. She's going to have to avoid the boat and head back in.
See, this is it. I mean, she's extremely fatigued, and these are the kind of mistakes that happen when you're so tired from this Super League format.
It's going to be a very, very interesting battle for the top 5 positions, because there are 5 coming out of the water. Spivey amongst them, Takahashi as well. Quality athletes with plenty of Super League experience, and knowing that the top 5 will get them in. But right now, we were hoping for this. Zafiris and Beaugrand heading into transition. In the back of shot, you can see Tommy Zafiris, the photographer, who's Katie's husband. who actually competed with us last year, actually Olympic trial swimmer, very athletic family. Beau out of the water first. And these athletes are risking elimination.
I think you could see there, I think Cassandra Beau was actually looking at Katie coming out and just making sure that she was probably going to mount her bike before Katie. She knows it's crucial. She doesn't want Katie to be out in front of her at all on this bike. She needs Katie on the bike.
She got out in front of her, just as you said. Katie's now going to follow her wheel. They get these two exactly like we saw in the first opening bike with Giko Takahashi and Cassandra, have those straighter lines, and it's the congestion back here when you're in these bigger groups that make that dogleg section we keep talking about in the fan zone much more difficult.
And there's 3 away there. If these 3 could get away, then there's your top 5.
And there's Moreira.
They are closing, so they kind of need to put a bit of an effort, and it's worth the effort. If these 3 can get away, then they're in control here, but these 2 are going to be chasing them.
At this point, do you work together? Do you realise where you are in terms of third through 6th and try and work together to make sure you stay gapped out?
I don't think you can think about it too much at this point. I think you need to put the power down and get that gap, otherwise they're just going to close it. And then once you initiate and you've got that gap, then you can work together, because then you can count the numbers and you go, okay guys, we're in top 5. We're not in contention for the short shoot. Let's just get through to tomorrow.
We could be seeing our first contracted athlete miss out on Sunday racing. Giko Takahashi 5 seconds back on Sandra Dode. She, of course, Takahashi is a contracted athlete, having finished in, I think, 8th position last year. Sandra Dode a qualifier. So Takahashi could have a nervous wait if things stay as they are to see how quick the times are in semi-final 2, because the top 5 go through from this semi-final to tomorrow's final. The top 5 from semi-final B, which is coming up very soon, and then the next 5 fastest times overall. So that's our buffer in case a lot of quick athletes had a very, very quick semi-final.
This is interesting. Now you've got 4 here. Giko Takahashi's going to, I'd say, going to latch onto this. So one of those girls won't make it through, or they may make it through if they have the fastest time, but you won't want to leave it up to that. So it's going to be a battle to get in the top 5.
We saw in the heat draw that everyone felt that this was going to be the strongest semi-final. When we drew the names out and they were allocated to the semi-finals, everybody was saying this is the strong semi-final. This was the semi-final they expected to be quicker than the next one, depending on the way it was raced. So you'd hope Giko was thinking, okay, if I can stay close to Vicky in this group, I've just got to run to execute, cross the fingers, and I'll be in that top 5 fastest times. But over a sprint enduro format, that's throwing a lot of caution to the wind.
Yeah, I think it was great the way that Super League did it this year. It made the 2 heats. Yeah, there's maybe one that's slightly stronger, but to be honest, it's going to be really hard to make it out of either of them.
Giko needs to close this gap, because that's the train that will keep the pace up and allow your times to matter if you miss that top 5.
Extremely impressed here by Sandra Dode. The feet's still out for Emily Morier, who's had 1 lap on the bike and hasn't had time to put the feet into the
She's trying to close that gap. It's the desperation to get, well, it's a desperation to get across to that group of 4 up in front of her, because there's 7 there, and what's happening here? It's our 2 leaders. But I think it's the desperation to get across to that group, because she can execute a good run, and as I said, you worry about those times when they worry. You can get in that top 5 with a big run, or you're going to be closer to that fastest time to make sure you're in that 15 in tomorrow's final.
You can see that they just got around. We didn't have that last year, that little detour around the island there. And that, as you say before, really takes the speed out of Katie Zafiris in terms of the fact that that's our longest straight stretch, or it was. And now it's like having a little speed bump there. You can't really get ahead of steam up.
Well, Jodie knows that better than anyone. She was in this race last year, but I remember calling it with both yourself and Vicky, and it was Katie that was so strong off that bottom roundabout in that fast top section. That's where it seemed to split up, and that's where the groups got isolated. She doesn't have that advantage this year with this technical section, and I think she just seems to be rocking and rolling back and forwards and hasn't looked as comfortable as she did last year.
Yeah, Katie was. I mean, I spoke to Katie before the race, and she was nervous going into it. Obviously, she's going to be extremely grateful that it's not raining, because I think she was worried about that. But, you know, this is Katie's weakness, is this technical bit, and she does get better every Super League, as she showed last year. But this is the first one. You know, WTS races aren't as technical as this. This is a crit race.
Zephyrus now ahead of Beau as they head to the bottom end of the course for the second time, past where the short shoot is. You can see it in the middle of your screen. Of course, that will be for tomorrow and taken only on the run. And you can see there's just no one around them. They're just still putting time, even though they don't have to, into the rest of the chasing pack. Headed by Taylor Spivey with Vicky Holland behind. You can see Giko Takahashi still tacked onto the back, but she's having to dig deep behind Sandra Dode. And Dode is our only, I guess, either quality wildcard or contracted athlete who's amongst them, but very, very impressive from her so far. She's an outstanding swimmer. That just shows you how important that positioning is. 6th in the World Cup a couple of weeks ago in Banyoles, 2nd in the European Champs, 2nd in Madrid in the World Cup too, but really taking a step up here and mixing it with the very, very best in the world. And there's 2 of them on screen right now, heading out on, well, back in on lap 3 of 4, and then we'll have 1 run, and it's going to be a good run, isn't it?
It's going to be a very interesting one. It's going to see who actually leads the run, because I know that Katie actually likes, she likes to be in that front position, but, if she wants to do that, then is she going to leave it to a sprint finish like they did in Singapore? I mean, that was a fantastic sprint finish that they had in the final, so, yeah.
They're contractually obliged to do that once per round now.
It makes good TV.
Yeah, it does, exactly.
So we'll thank you. We'll thank them when they finish.
Yeah, thank you. We're getting it out of the way in the first one. But it is Zephyrus and Beau, and we said it earlier in the show that these guys they're at different points in their career. Zephyrus, obviously the world champion now. In the last 5 years, she finished 5th in the World Championships, in the WTS, then 4th, then 3rd, then 2nd, and then she finally gets the monkey off the back this year and becomes world champion in that respect. Still, there's a lot of blue sky ahead of Cassandra Beau. She's still improving. We know what we're going to get from Zephyrus, and that is consistency and probably dominance. But Beau is a different kettle of fish. As they come into transition, before I get your response on that, we'll head back down to Joe.
Okay, well, they are coming into transition. As you can see, Katie in the front now. I was just having a chat with Henry. Takahashi seems like she's been struggling a bit since that fall. Yeah, she's had some really bad luck around that U-turn, and it seems like she's getting herself back up, but she's just hanging on. We'll see if she can get that top 5 at the end of the semi-final, but it looks like Moray is going to go for the top 5 fastest. Now, it does seem as they come around this U-turn that they really have to slow down. What do the bikers have to go through at that point? Yeah, they have to really slow down. It's on a carpet surface, so they have to be really careful not to overshoot it. Okay, back to you guys.
Thanks, Henry. Thanks, Joe. And you can see there that Takahashi, just even as they said that, has dropped off the back of that group. Now, she has to just now make sure that she has the fastest time that she's got in her, because she's going to be the one probably who's going to have the weight.
And she knows that. She's been off the back of that group since the swim, so she's just dangled about 5 or 10 seconds back, and she knows that she'll be looking ahead going, I need to deliver a big run here to guarantee that slot. She'll be counting those heads up in front and knowing exactly who they are and probably targeting the weakest in that group, whether she can hunt them down.
Conversely, for the athletes in semi-final B, they'll be looking at the times of Mazzetti, Lopez and Zane, who are now a further 30 seconds back in the group, and targeting that time, knowing that there's going to be probably 4 slots if you take Takahashi out for the discretionary spots, if you like.
Well, it's always that advantage being in that second semi-final, because you have a time to target. You can get together at the start and say, look, guys, we need to work this. Let's all get through, and the advantage of being in the second semi-final.
Yeah, I think it's so brutal, though, in one way that some athletes don't have a choice of how fast they're actually going, because it's so full on, and you're, in that red zone for much of the race. Some of them won't have a choice of going, let's pick it up, because they're already at full capacity.
We're about to head in once again. You can see Beau hopping out of the shoes, as is Zephyrus already, and they're going to come in and head out on the final run. 1.6 kilometres between the 2 of them and a short shoot. Both get off before the dismount line cleanly, and we're watching that very, very closely. Racked in at position 1, as she was in pontoon position 1, is Beau having to travel all the way to the other end with the bike is Zephyrus, and that might hurt her just a little bit.
Yeah, that is a massive advantage, to be honest. I mean, Katie has to go the other end of the transition, like pushing her bike, it's slower.
And she avoids, I guess she picked that in to avoid the congestion from the swim, but it was definitely slower after the bike.
We do have half the amount of athletes out there than we've had in that transition area in previous years, so the congestion on the bike for those who don't like to have to go through it with their bike is less, but it was all about that pontoon position. Holland leads out the chasing pack, Spivey on her hip,
and here's
Dode, and
Dode and
Lost
Takahashi.
a little bit. Yeah, that's it. It'll be Dode and Takahashi
for the race for 5th.
And Sandra Dode knows that very, very well. You can see her attempting to latch onto the back, but Vicky Holland looks way more comfortable here than she did 12 months ago.
Yeah, definitely. I think tactically she's done this really well. I think she needs to, just stay in control now and just do what she needs to do to get through to tomorrow and conserve as much energy as she can.
Little look across there as she headed around the turn from Beau and trying to see where Zefiris is. We can see her in the back of shot. It's probably 4 or 5 seconds now. The split says 4 last time they went through the mat, and it is at least that. And you look at those two running styles and you think, oh, Cassandra's doing the job. But I said before to Katie about an hour before the race, you like the T1000. If you've watched the Terminator, the T1000 never slows down, has the exact same running style no matter what. Rain, hail, shine, hills, whatever. She just seems to have the kind of running style that can run through anything, and she never slows down.
And nothing changes, just everybody else seems to drop off. We sort of watched it year on year as we've been calling this. She just has that same look on her face, the same running style, and just suddenly there's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she's leading. It's just remarkable to watch. But Cassandra Beau, a lot more elegant in the style, stands a lot more upright, and she looks very composed. And
she looks totally in control, doesn't
without
she?
question. She looks like she's not even breathing. She's very, very composed.
Beau's best time around this Jersey course, which has changed slightly, is a 6:40. To give you an idea, though, Zefiris' best is a 6:46. So Cassandra Beau is our best runner. We keep saying that, but Katie Zefiris, she's so good at every discipline that you almost forget how good she is at every individual discipline. She is the second best runner there is. Her worst results for the run have come in Jersey because she's so strong up hills, because she doesn't slow down, just like the T1000. But she's the second best runner. She's the second best on the bike. She's the 4th best in the swim, and that is why at the end of the day she was crowned our 2018-19 champion. Can she? If she does take this gap down, that is a huge mental advantage against the best runner. Can she do it?
I don't think she will. Cassandra looks too much in
I'm trying to
control.
pump it all up here, and then you just go, no, that's it.
No,
I don't think so either.
no.
No, I don't think so. I don't deep down, I don't think so either. But if anyone can do it, it certainly is Katie Zefiris. And you can see the short shoot. That is the distance that it is. It is shorter than... Like, the shortcut was bigger last year.
Well, the run's shorter now. We have a 1,600 metre run. We were running 2 kilometres in the past. It's about 3 seconds, a 3-second advantage, which over a mile is a significant advantage. So we tried to calculate what that short shoot should be. Well, Dode's moved right up. She did this in Bali in the qualification round where she secured a spot for Super League races. She was by far superior to all of them on the run. And it's now Taylor Spivey. I think she'll be safe, Taylor. I don't think Giko Takahashi will close that gap, and she'll have to rely on times to get through to tomorrow's final.
It will be Takahashi who relies. Yeah, I think you're right. That gap has certainly runs out. Has the gap, I think, now between Beau and Zefiris, which it was 4 seconds. I think it's probably about 6 seconds now. We'll see on our timing mats when it comes up, but she's showing her class once again.
I think Katie said to herself, look, I'm going to give up this 3-second short shoot. I'm going to back right off now. I'm through to the final. You can have it, and let's rest up for tomorrow.
I think it's smart.
Yeah.
I think, Cassandra she's so much in control. She got that advantage going out of transition, and she's just grown on it. I think this is where Katie is really smart in these scenarios, and she's gone, yeah, I'm not going to get this today. You have the short shoot, and game on for tomorrow.
That's what I think too.
There you go. It looks like 1 and 2 already done. Cassandra Beau and Katie Zefiris. As I said, there's been 4 race days in Jersey over the last 2 times we've been here. 3 of them been won by Katie Zefiris. The other one by the woman on your screen right now, and she just seems to be getting better and better. This kind of racing made for the number 3, the French woman, 21 years of age, still plenty of improvement to go. And Cassandra Beau will probably be your winner of semi-final A, and she'll be, I guess, throwing the gauntlet down in terms of her time. Will be very interesting to see what her time is and whether anyone can get anywhere near it in semi-final B, which is really a swimmer's semi-final. I'd say that probably the top 5 swimmers all happen to have been pulled out in semi-final B, so that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, I think Sophie led a lot of the swims out here last year, and she'll be looking to do the same thing just to get through to the final, but she needs to do that because they're not short of runners either in Heat 2, but she needs to use her advantage going in and try and get through to tomorrow.
Yeah, Sophie Caldwell holds the top 4 ever swim times for women around the Jersey Marina, and she'll be looking to add to that, no doubt. But right now, all eyes are on Cassandra Beau, who has impressed us every time she's put on a Super League jersey, and she's done exactly the same here. She has gapped our 2018-19 champion, and she'll turn for the last time in front of a good crowd here in Jersey. They do love their triathlon and they love their Super League here on the edge of the marina, and she's got time for a few high fives, or more than a few, a nice smile as well. She's run within herself somewhat, and she'll pick up the short shoot. The winner of semi-final A and under the finishing arch is Cassandra Beau. Congratulations to her, and behind Katie Zafiris as well, who qualifies for her first final on Sunday. Now, this race is going to be very, very interesting. Keep that number in mind, though, 39.16. And then a 39.27 for Zafiris, as Dode, our first qualifier ever to book her place in the final, is going to make the turn ahead of Vicky Holland. There'll be a big cheer from the crowd as Holland qualifies for the final. Well done to her.
The high fives will stop soon.
No, they won't. They'll keep going for everybody, I'd say. So Dode, well done to her. Holland as well, who had an enjoyable race, and Spivey comes through.
Here you go, Yuko's going to have to... No high five for Yuko. Head down and sprint.
The hands are out, but they're getting ignored. Giko Takahashi will need to post a time, and we'll keep it in mind. But 48 seconds between first and fifth going through. And then Takahashi with 55 seconds. Let's go right down to Joe in just a second. I think she's with Cassandra Beau. Joe?
I am indeed. I have the winner of semi-final A with me, Cassandra. Congratulations. How did it feel to win today and get such a gap on your big rival, Katie?
Thank you so much. I felt very good on the swim, so I tried to push on the other sports, and it was okay.
And you were leading for much of the race. How much did you want that short shoot tomorrow, that advantage?
I really enjoyed, and I enjoyed.
Well, looking ahead to tomorrow's race, how confident are you? Can you cause an upset here at the first SLT in Jersey this year?
Yes, I will recover a lot, and we will see tomorrow.
Excellent. You look so strong. Congratulations and good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe, and thank you to Cassandra. Congratulations. Cassandra Beau comes in 11 seconds ahead of Katie Zafiris. Sandra Dode, another French woman, she comes in third, and then Vicky Holland in fourth from Taylor Spivey. And Takahashi